Good early afternoon. How you doing? A couple of my viewers have commented on the way I built that table, that nightstand, and I wanted to make this video to explain the reasons why I have done it the way I have done it. The comments actually pertain to why I was using nails and not screws. Another one also said that I wasn't using any glue, which is not true. I wasn't using glue. I was using glue, and it is true. I want to show you why I did not use screws in the plywood. It's not that I didn't know that. I did not want to use screws, and I'm going to show you why you don't use screws in a piece of furniture with only 3/4 inch thick plywood to work with, and I want to show you right now. Okay, first of all, if you're using a screw, and this is a thin screw, this is happens to be a flat slotted screw, which is not the kind I like. I like the Phillips, but anyways, I just happen to have these. This happens to be a number 8, 2 inches. The length is fine, but here's what you got to do. You got to pre-drill the first board, of course, but you only drill the whole diameter, the thickness of this shank right here. Okay, but the thickness of this shank is too much to drill like this and go into the 3/4 inch plywood. You will split the wood unless you pre-drill the second piece of wood, which I do not recommend because it will not offer any strength. Now you can make your second hole the diameter of the root of the thread. In other words, the valley, if you want to call it that. You can make, in other words, it would be a little smaller drill bit for here, but you must drill the second piece of wood because you're going in and you're going to delaminate and separate the plywood. If not, if you were going a different way, if you were going 2 pieces of plywood laying flat on each together, in other words, like this, you'd have no problem with that because you're not going to split it unless you're doing it on the very, very, very edge. But this is why I use a finishing nail, because a finishing nail is much thinner, and I do have 2-inch finish nails, but I elected not to use them because they were a little thicker than the ones I used, and I could split this wood. It's happened before, and when you split it, you got to fill it in with wood filler. It looks like hell because the way I made that cabinet, I left the end just like this. Now here is the other issue. When you're drilling down through this to put this in, you got to countersink the head. So what you've got is roughly, I'm looking at this, about 1/4 inch head on this thing, where the finish nail has a head probably not much bigger than the point of this screw here. So on the face of the plywood where it's going to show, you're going to have a 1/4 inch hole here, which you fill in with wood filler. Very true, but nevertheless, when you fill it in with wood filler, it is going to be noticeable. The way I did it with my finishing nails is not going to be as noticeable. In addition to that, I have decided not to paint that cabinet. I have decided I'm going to use, I've already bought it, Minwax Poly Shades, and it's pecan, because that's the color of my son's headboard. So it's going to be a stain and polyurethane all in one. And it tells you on the can if you want it darker, you can just add more coats. So that's the way we're going to go. But we don't use a big hole like this. Now, I have also done it with big holes on other projects. And what you do then is you get a dowel that'll fit that, and you cut it off, put some Elmer's glue in there, and bang it down into the hole, and then sand it smooth to match the finish. So all you'll see is a little wood plug there, but it's still going to be noticeable on the grain. So it's less noticeable to use finish nails. Now, here is the other option. Somebody will say, well, why don't you screw it going from the bottom? I have thought of that. I'm trying to get you, make sure you're in camera, because I noticed everything was out of camera view that I was doing. Naturally, you wouldn't use a screw this long. In order to drill up from the bottom, let's say this is the top of the cabinet, okay? And this is the side right here. You need a cleat in here more so than the one I had. True, I could probably drill up on a 45, which is the way I did the quarter round molding, and the screw could come up like this. But the screws are going to have to be very short, less than an inch and a half, even at this angle, because you could run the risk of coming through the other end of the plywood. So the shorter the screw is, the less wood it's going to grab, and therefore not be as strong. So my idea of using finishing nails, I still say, was the better of the choice, simply because this screw, and this is a real skinny screw for its length, is too fat to drill down and go into the plywood without splitting it and separating the laminations. I hope that explains the reason why I did not use screws on this project. All right, another viewer had commented using a table saw without a blade guard. I bought this at a yard sale. Did not come with a blade guard, and I'm not going to go out and buy one. I paid $10 for the saw, and all it needs is a decent miter gauge. So it doesn't have a blade guard because it didn't come with one. If it came with one, I would have used it. And if you watch my videos, when I'm using a table saw or router, planer, whatever, I always have my safety glasses on. Very true, I do not use them most of the time when I am drilling holes. If you see a pair of glasses on me when I'm drilling holes, it's usually because I'm using my reading glasses so that I can see on the mark, so I don't lose the place. So I always wear my safety glasses. So Don, pay attention. Also, a quick shout out once again to Buzz 1151. Appreciate you sending me that power adapter for the Toshiba 305 CDS computer. I will be uploading a video on that computer, how it's running and everything else, shortly. I just got to editing it, and I'll be posting that video soon. But I wanted to get this video up here because I had several people that had commented on the construction video. And I believe it was you there, Buzz, that told me about the why didn't I use screws. Well, I hope that clarifies it up for you. And I want to thank you all for watching, and we'll be putting more videos up as time goes on. Oh, by the way, even though I said in part 2 I would not be showing the finished product, I will be showing some very short video clips of the finished product. I got all the nail holes covered and everything sanded. I got like the 3 or 4 times I went over it with sandpaper and got it pretty smooth on the whole thing. But I can't do the poly shades, the Minwax poly shades yet, because it's only 60 degrees today. It's getting cold again, so back to seasonable temperatures, I should say. But when we get days again in the 70s, I can only do this outside. We can't risk breathing the fumes in the house. And it's not windy, I can do it. So it could be a while before you'll see the finished product, because I need a real good day so I can do it outside. And it cannot be windy, because if it is, it'll blow dirt all over the polyurethane and ruin it. Thank you for watching, folks.